Hello all, it's the 11th of October 2016 and it's Dan here from Essex, United Kingdom. So yeah, I thought this time of year would be a good time to broach this subject, but I was reading in the Telegraph, or rather I saw on the internet a report from the Telegraph. This is a newspaper here in the UK regarding the decline of the British apple. Also that was mentioned in this was about the original Bramley apple tree dying and that sort of thing. I've spoken about this on a video before. So with regards to the English apple in decline, we've all got to take responsibility for this. An example would be there are so many hundreds, if not thousands, of different varieties of English apple. The other day I had a lovely Cox Orange Pippin apple. I've got some Winter Kings all hanging off of my tree that should be ready in a month or two. They hang on the tree till about January if you let them, by the way. I've had some Russets as well. They'll be ready in about probably a month, if not now already. So there's so many different varieties of English apples, and I've just named a few. There's, God dearie me, I would love to know how many actual varieties of English apple there are. If anybody out there actually knows, then let me know. But with regards to the decline of the English apple, there's so much that we can do, people, anyone, to stop this decline in the British apple. Now what must be remembered, the older varieties, there's a particular variety called Court Pendu Plat, which was believed to have been introduced to the UK by the Romans. So, you know, there's quite a lot of history attached to this. Now the older varieties of apple, of course, in those days there wasn't sort of the unnatural fungicides, rodenticides, pesticides, herbicides, etc. So they do tend to be more resistant to sort of disease and bacteria and that sort of thing. So this is a good reason to preserve the older varieties of apple, not to mention the effort that people went through to, you know, breed these apples so that we could have apples that would keep into the following year even, or late that year, before the days of refrigeration and mass sort of imports and exports of apples. So one thing that we can all do, simple thing, when you go down the supermarket or wherever, as much as possible, don't buy foreign apples. Buy English grown apples, ideally English varieties. So for example, if you see, you know, some Cox, or you see Russets, which you can buy in supermarkets, these are both English varieties of apple. Buy these. Now of course I know that we're conditioned now to sweeter apples such as Gala and Pink Lady and that sort of thing. Now I know that Gala can be grown in this country. The reason why I know this is because, well, my long-term viewers will know, I actually grow it myself. And Gala can be a nice apple if it's allowed to mature on the tree. It's like a nice sort of pear drop taste. But if you can buy English grown Gala apples, although I don't believe the Gala apple is an English variety, still buy apples grown in England, because we need to support the farmers, we need to support the producers, because at the end of the day, if people don't produce the apples, or if we don't buy the apples that people produce, we will not be able to get them, and then we will be forced to buy apples from abroad. Now I fully understand that there is a place for getting apples from abroad. For example, really sort of into maybe May next year, before English apples are available, then, you know, the supply of British apples will be dwindling, because there simply is not the amount of orchards in this country as there once was in order to produce the amount of apples that we once did. I fully understand that. Now there's another thing that we can do. We can purchase apple trees ourselves and grow them. Now I can hear many people saying now, excuse me a minute, sorry that was disgusting, but I had to clear that. Yeah, many people say, oh, I don't have a big enough garden, or I don't have any garden. Okay, if you don't have a garden and you're that way inclined and you're interested, you can always look at getting an allotment. My allotment, 90 square metres, £38 a year. You know, so if you live in a flat and you fancy an allotment, get yourself on the list. You might have to get permission to grow trees, and then they might only let you grow dwarf ones, but you know, if they allow you, put some trees in. Or if a friend will allow you to have part of their garden, put a tree or two in. So encourage people to set English varieties of apples. So it's not really too much of a problem now. I mean, if you've got a big garden yourself, you know, put an apple tree 2, 3, 4 in. If you've got a small garden, you can put an apple tree in on a dwarf rootstock. You can get these things called minarettes now. I believe they're grown on M27. They just grow up like that, and they then put the spurs out, and they then fruit on the spurs. You know, you could get a decent crop. I know a friend who had about 6 or 7 of those minarettes in his garden. He used to get huge crops, and you can have all different varieties, all ripening at different times of the year, long keepers, you know, really early ones. There's an apple called Irish peach, which I believe is the you know, the first apple to ripen in the British season. But of course, the southeast where we are here, this happens to be the warmest part of the UK, and we do tend to get crops earlier. Now, another great apple to consider is James Grieve. This can be used as a cooking apple early in its life, and if it's allowed to mature, it can then become a very tasty dessert apple. So there's so many varieties of apple out there. Check out the report from the Telegraph. Have a look at it and think about it. It doesn't only apply to apples, of course. There's varieties of pears, there's varieties of cherries, so many different fruits. Apples, cherries, plums. I mean, Victoria plums, they're brilliant. And there's another variety called opal as well, which I believe ripens a few weeks earlier than does Victoria. So get yourself out there, get looking at what you can sort of grow for yourself. Do your research and find apples that you can grow, you know, without too much spray, because a lot of apples nowadays do necessitate a lot of spray. Now, just with regards to apple varieties that one would not consider, you know, English varieties or British varieties, whatever, an example would be Golden Delicious. Now, Golden Delicious, you know, we all see this as a supermarket apple, and I believe it's an American apple, but a lot of people like them, and that I understand. So let's say you only like Golden Delicious apples. Well, you can grow Golden Delicious in this country. They are prone to scab, but ideally, if you can grow them like up against the wall or in a sunny sort of south-facing location, you can get good crops of Golden Delicious. I know this because I used to have a tree of Golden Delicious, and I used to get a lovely sort of crop of, and they almost go like a golden yellow when they're ready, if they're allowed to mature. And I have a friend from Hungary who kept his chilled properly, and we were eating them in the following part of the year. So learn about sort of keeping apples, growing your own apples, what they need, all these different varieties of things, and you really can enhance your own garden experience and do something very good for the community. And also, not to mention the birds and the bees, because the bees population is in decline. So if we want to help ourselves with that, then that is one thing we can do. So I hope you've enjoyed that. A bit of a sort of speech today, but it is garden related. I hope you guys enjoy the new hairdo. It certainly took a, you know, I've had long hair now for the last, goodness me knows how long, but thought it was time for a change. And working as a gardener, it's much easier to have short hair because I kept getting stuff caught in it. Think about your apples and check out the report. Just type in on Google the Telegraph English apple or British apple, and you should see it come up. The report was from the 6th of October. And another thing, check out the Stephen Hayes Fruitwise YouTube channel. Very knowledgeable gentleman, very sort of good on camera as well. Check him out, you will learn a lot from him. I certainly have. All the best, speak soon.